I'm Shawn Irving, and I'm Vice President and CISO for Michael's Stores. Key and certificate management is important operationally in that knowing where and how you've issued these certificates and how you've issued these keys exist in the environment so that you can protect the organization operationally from outages. In my current role and in previous roles that I've held, one of the key drivers for investing in a certificate and key management tool was driven out of that operational availability need. The other aspect of it is really understanding key and certificate management as the next generation of privileged access management risk. So organizations over the last several years have gotten much more attuned at looking at privileged access risk in terms of IDs that administrators use or IDs that systems use to communicate with each other, and have gotten very sophisticated at evaluating to make sure that adequate controls are in place to rotate those IDs, to make sure that they're secure, to control who has access to them, and that sort of thing. What hasn't happened is a realization that certificates and keys are really just a second iteration of that problem, and probably more of an obscure view of that problem that creates risk that is at least as significant, if not more significant, than the privileged access IDs that we've been managing for several years. Potential impacts of weak key and certificate management would be probably again twofold. One is operational. So the failure to manage those keys and certificates and not knowing how they're issued and how long they're good for, and whether or not they've been compromised is an issue that'll disrupt the business, because surprises with expirations with certificates or surprises with expirations with keys can create system outages that can be hugely impactful to the business, and oftentimes are very difficult to go and diagnose, and sometimes very difficult to go and fix, particularly if the keys or certificates are shared amongst a large number of systems. Most organizations fail to consider the importance or the relevance of keys and certificates for I think a couple of reasons. One is that traditionally key and certificate management isn't performed within the context of an area of the organization that regularly looks at risk. So typically key and certificate management isn't in the domain of the information security team, and that oftentimes leads to a view of keys and certificates as just a functional component of how the environment works, as opposed to an integral part of how we deliver access and identity. And so I think today that thought is starting to emerge, such that organizations are really starting to see that keys and certificates are very much an extension of their identity and access management program, and that those keys and certificates are attached to people, they're attached to machines, they create multiple interrelationships between the two, and that a failure to look at them from that perspective really creates a significant security risk. Recommendation I would give to organizations that don't have strong key and certificate management programs would be to really evaluate how your identity strategy is gonna scale as your business scales. The continued use of user IDs and passwords as a mechanism for creating system-to-system access or for creating privileged access is a mechanism that doesn't scale, and is a mechanism that is largely vulnerable to human disruption. And so an organization that wants to be able to scale the use of identity and the automation of identity between systems and between people needs to have the ability to use keys and certificates in an intelligent manner.